Hello, everybody. This is a poem written by Kamala Das. The poem clearly says about an intense relationship between a mother and a daughter. A mother gives birth to a child. She takes care of her with intense love. Here, Kamala Das explains about her feelings when she realizes that her mother is getting weak and older. There is a message in this poem. That is, whatever comes in our life, we should face it. We should overcome it. We have to accept the reality of life. Now, look at the lines given in the poem. Driving from my parents' home to Cochin last Friday morning, I saw my mother beside me. Doors, open mouth, her face ashen like that of a corpse, and realized with pain that she was as old as she looked, but soon put that thought away. Once the poet visited her mother. From there, she was going to Cochin International Airport. Her mother was sitting next to her. She looked at her. The poet felt pain inside while looking at her mother's pale face. Doze means sleep. Her mother was sleeping with her mouth opened. For the poet, she looked like a corpse. Corpse means dead body. Poet feels very sad looking at the aged and weak face of her mother. When the poet feels pain inside, she decides to change her thoughts into some other things. Now look at the lines. And looked out at young trees sprinting, the merry children spilling out of their homes. To change the poet's mood, she looked out through the window. Sprinting means running fast or moving fast. When the poet was sitting in a running car, she saw the trees running backwards. Those young trees were compared to her childhood. Those days, her mother was so young. Thinking about the childhood gave the poet more life and energy. The merry children. Merry means happy. Spilling means to run out or to scatter. The poet sees the trees moving backward along with the children playing together. This reminded of her childhood, where her mother was so young and strong. Now look at the lines. But after the airport's security check, standing a few yards away, I looked again at her, wan, pale as a late winter's moon. Now the poet is at the airport. It indicates the time for separation. When the airport's security checkups were over, the poet again looks at her mother. Her mother's face looked wan and pale. It means tired and colorless. Late winter's moon is compared to a person's last stage of life. Late winter's moon will not give a bright light, it produces a dim light, which is clearly compared to a mother who has lost her power and beauty. Now look at the lines and felt that old familiar ache, my childhood's fear. When the poet looked at her mother's wan, pale face, it reminded of her childhood fear. Her fear was mother will get old and die soon. But during her childhood, Such thoughts were just temporary. But now the poet is really scared of her mother's last stage of life. But the poet doesn't want to show any such feelings to her mother. She was making her mind to accept everything that's going to happen. By hiding her sad face, she bid goodbye to her mother with a smiling face. Here, the poem gives a clear contrast between the time spent with her mother and fear of the future without her mother. Thank you.